CASA is someone who helps to allow the children's voice to be heard.
A volunteer who wants to help children who have been abused or neglected while they're in the system.
The birth mother has someone representing her, and the father may have someone representing him, and there's, of course, the DCS, and everybody's kind of coming at it from their own angle. The CASA volunteer is uniquely positioned to advocate one and only for the child.
They're going through some type of abuse or neglect, and we're there to help them through that process.
I think there's a lot of people who don't realize how bad a lot of kids have it in Jackson.
It's such a traumatic experience that these children go through, and a lot of people don't realize how traumatic it really is. But to have one person who is your voice in the courts and who follows you no matter what, you don't get falling through the cracks.
You make reports. The reports are read by the judge, by DCS, by the attorneys that are involved in the case, and your thoughts and your observations are used in decisions that are involved in the care of the child, in the decisions that are made, where they're going to stay, what's going to happen to them. Your thoughts are valuable. Also, the CASAs are invited to go into the court during these cases when they come before the judge. And you are questioned at times. You're there as a valuable input as to what's going to happen to this child.
It doesn't take up a lot of your time. I have 5 kids and work a full-time job, but it's the most rewarding volunteer work that I've ever done.
It's not hard. It's actually very rewarding to know that you are doing something to help someone else get through a hard time. I mean, we all have hard times, and we all sometimes need just a little bit more help.
If Madison County had more volunteers for CASA, we'd be able to serve 100% of the children in the foster care system, which is our goal. Currently, we're only nationwide able to serve about 1/3.
There's not enough CASA volunteers for each child that Judge Little thinks should have one.
It's based on helping children. It's based on helping families. It's based on helping situations that aren't so good, to help that process along and know that they're not alone and know that they are being seen.
I think CASA volunteers have an opportunity to make a real difference in children's lives, much like parents or teachers do.
You know without a shadow of a doubt that you have an impact on a child's life.
Of course, by improving one child's life, one family's life, you're making a small impact on the community. And we certainly need more CASA volunteers to do that.
It makes a difference with the children to know that even though some of them are small, that their voices are heard.
Welcome. We are so glad you are here to join us tonight for the second CASA CHEFBOX. Thank you for being here with us. We're thrilled you're here. We hope you have a good time. My name is Hannah Snowden, and I'm the Executive Director of Madison County CASA. Before we get started, we just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Kyle Williams, Grubbs Grocery, Woodstock Bake Shop, First Presbyterian Church, The Blacksmith, Adelsberger Marketing, and Amy and Keith Garner. Thank you for letting us film in your beautiful home. Please make sure you take pictures of your delicious creations as you're cooking and tag us on Facebook or use our hashtag CASA CHEFBOX 2022. Chef Tanner?
So we want to go ahead and get our chicken broth, sorry. We want to go ahead and get that to a boil, so if you can, just go ahead and get a pot ready, go ahead and get your chicken broth in there, bring that to a boil. If you haven't yet, go ahead and set your oven to 350 degrees as well.
Okay, wonderful. And if you have questions or if anything comes up as you're watching, please feel free and to send your questions into Madison County CASA Facebook page or onto the YouTube channel. And now we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Kyle Williams.
Kyle Williams with 401kyle.com, and I'm a financial advisor. We support CASA through CHEFBOX because they are a voice for the abused and neglected children in our community. When cooking, having the right list of ingredients and techniques should allow you to make the perfect meal. It's the same with retirement. With the right list of investments and techniques, I can help you towards retiring on time to the life you want to live. If you're not sure if you are on the right track, contact me for a paid consultation with our Second Opinion service, and I will review your current progress to retirement, even if you work with a different advisor. All investing involves risk. There are no guarantees with investment strategies. Thank you for supporting CASA tonight, and I hope you have a great meal.
Thank you for joining us again. Chef Tanner, where are we? What are our next steps?
All right, so what you want to do, you should already have your pot. You should have your chicken broth bringing it up to a boil. You should have your oven working. We're going to set that to 350. And if you haven't already, go ahead and take your lamb out of the refrigerator. We want that to actually come up to temp a little bit and just kind of sit out, come to room temp. You'll get a better, more even cook on it. So first thing we're going to do, we've got our chicken stock. We've got that brought to a boil. So what we want to do, we're going to go really light on the seasoning because we are using broth, so it is going to have a little bit of salt on it. So you're probably looking about half teaspoon, somewhere in there on your salt. Pepper, about a quarter teaspoon, somewhere in there. Use as much as you like on your pepper though. So since that's come up to a boil, you want to take your container of your polenta. Now you got to be a little quick on this because you have to whisk this in as it cooks. But as we get this combined and it starts coming together, we want to lower the heat down because if not, it will try to splatter up on you and you could definitely burn yourself. So you can see it's kind of coming together, kind of thickening up. So what we want to do, we want to drop the heat down to low. If you can even pick it up and take it off the heat if you need to. Just whisk that together till it comes all together. And then from here, we're going to take your butter and your Parmesan cheese. Bring all of this together. All right, so now we're actually going to put the lid on this and just kind of let it sit there, let it kind of steam. We want the polenta to get a little more tender, so we're just going to let that sit, steam. We may have to add a little more water to it later if it's too thick, but for now we're just going to let that sit there and hang out. So next step, you want to get skillet, pan, whatever you have that is oven safe. You don't necessarily need one this big. I just got that so I can kind of show you what's kind of going on with it. So you want to turn that on high heat. We're going to let that heat up. While that's heating up, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our Brussels sprouts. So these have already been cooked for you. You don't really have to do too much with these. All we're trying to do is basically just reheat these. So you could use another pan that's oven safe. We're going to use a baking dish with a silicone mat on it. So all we want to do is take that and just kind of disperse them around. Excuse me. But yeah, we roasted the Brussels sprouts in the oven earlier, 350 degrees. You should have a recipe with this, but oil, salt, pepper, a little garlic powder, you toss that around, bake it in the oven, 350 for anywhere 15, 20 minutes. Everybody's oven can be a little bit different, so you can always just kind of do the finger touch on it. Just make sure it's something that's soft.
Please remember, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us either via our Madison County CASA Facebook page or the YouTube channel. And as you're fixing your food, as you're roasting your Brussels sprouts, heating them up, as you're making the cheesy, delicious polenta. Please feel free to take pictures and post those at hashtag CHEFBOX2022. Again, we are thankful to our sponsors for making this event possible.
So if you haven't already, we can go ahead and take our lamb out of the packaging. And you can put it on a plate, cutting board, whatever. All we're going to do, we just want to try to pat it down, get it a little drier. From here, same thing, salt and pepper. You want to go a little heavy on it. Make sure you get all the sides. Kind of push it into the meat. Same thing with your pepper. And I actually like getting a little bit of it around on the cutting board or your plate, because we're going to push that into the meat, but then you can also roll up all of that other seasoning that's around. But you want it coated just like that. All right, so pan should be hot now. You want to add in your oil. So this is just a blended oil. It's olive oil and some pomace oil.
And what is pomace oil?
You're putting me on the spot here with these questions now. So pomace oil, you actually have varieties of olive oil. So pomace oil is, so your extra virgin is the first squeeze off of an olive. Okay. Your pomace is what comes in later, but I like doing a blend on it because it doesn't have as much, it has a higher smoking content on it. So it won't burn as easily.
Okay, great, thank you.
So you can see the oil is kind of moving around pretty freely in the pan. We still want to get it just as hot as we can get. We want to try to get some smoke going with it. You can kind of see it doing the ripples. It's getting there. So when you go in with your lamb, we want to go in with this flat side down, not the part where you see the ribs and everything. We want to go with this side down. Don't just throw it in there. Fold it away from yourself. Put it down. And you lay down. That's the noise you want to hear, though. You want to hear that sizzle, because that's what's going to give you that good char and that good crust on it.
How do you know how long to cook the lamb once you get it into the skillet? We're
probably going about 2 to 3 minutes per side.
Okay.
You just want to get just a good browning on it. So you're probably looking at 2 to 3 minutes per side. With this one, you have to get, we'll see where it's at. We're getting there. It still needs a little more color on there. But you can always take it, throw one side up. Just watch out in case it starts trying to pop up on you. Just try to help it sear off a little bit. And then what you can actually do is roll it up on its side. Put it at the edge of your pan. Do the same thing. Bring that oil down there to it. And we'll get the bottom part of it. Watch out as it's splashing up on you, because that's just the moisture from the lamb that's coming off that's causing that. So don't freak out. A little grease never hurt anybody. So from here, what we want to do, take it, throw that into your preheated oven for about 3 to 4 minutes.
Great. Well, wonderful. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Kyle Williams, Grove's Grocery, Woodstock Bake Shop, First Presbyterian Church, Blacksmith, Adelsberger Marketing, and Amy and Keith Garner. We are so thankful for your support of the CASA CHEFBOX event. All of you are here tonight. We're thankful for your support of Madison County CASA. Thank you for buying a box. Each box that was bought goes directly to supporting Madison County CASA. Our mission at Madison County CASA is to train volunteers to be advocates for abused and neglected children during their time involved in the juvenile court system. And so those funds that we receive from the sale of the CASA CHEFBOX will go towards providing advocates who will advocate on the behalf of these children during their time in the juvenile court, advocating for their best interests, advocating for their futures, and advocating for safe, stable homes where they'll thrive and have hopefully brighter futures. So thank you. Thank you for being with us. As you're cooking, please feel free to share your pictures with us at hashtag CASA CHEFBOX 2022. Feel free to share those pictures and we'd love to see them. We'd love to see you having fun, learning something new, and supporting our CASA kids. So, Chef Tanner, why lamb? Why did you want to choose lamb for this meal?
So I wanted to do something that I figured a lot of people actually probably haven't made, or so I feel like this should be an experience where it's something that, yes, you're donating to a great cause, but it's also something that you can be hands-on with and you can learn something yourself. And I mean, I know last time we did a pork chop, so I wanted to kind of go a little nicer scale with it this time. So I know a lot of people haven't cooked lamb before, so it's just, I feel like they haven't cooked it because they don't know how. So, and there's multiple ways you can cook it. This is just one way, so just trying to show something different. So,
do you have any tips on buying lamb?
Besides whichever local grocery store you can get it from, not really. You can get it in multiple ways. Most places are going to have it where it's already Frenched. So that's where the bone is. The meat's already been pulled off. It's just a cleaner look. Makes for better plating. I usually try to stick to a grass-fed. So, but I think most of our lamb that comes over this way is pretty much grass-fed. So.
Okay.
All right. So now what we're going to do, lamb's still working. We're going to get a plate ready. You need to grab your Dijon mustard. And if you have a brush, you can use a brush. We're just going to use a spoon because I figured everybody has one of those at their house.
So right now we're just letting the Brussels sprouts rest, correct?
Yeah, Brussels sprouts aren't doing anything at the
Okay.
moment. We're just getting them ready. We're going to throw them in the oven just to reheat because they are already fully cooked. So the only thing we need to do with them is just throw them back in the oven to reheat.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we're getting some pretty good color all the way around. You can see it's kind of brown. But you can see if I push on the meat, it's still a little loose. So probably need to throw this back in for just a little while, but that's fine. So what we're going to do, we're going to flip it over on this side, and we're going to throw it right back in the oven. Give it about another 2 minutes.
Okay. So they really need to just watch their meat. Is there a temperature they're looking for before they pull it out?
So I'm looking at mid-rares the way I want to serve it. If you want to go with medium or even well done, you just got to leave it in there longer.
Okay.
So temp I'm looking for, if you have a thermometer, is 115 degrees.
Okay.
I know I didn't temp it, but it just doesn't look like it's there yet. So we're going to let it just rest for a little while. So now we can actually kind of look back at our polenta to see where we're at with it. So you can see it's kind of a gummy, it's kind of thick. So what we want to do with this, so if you get the same container that you had with your chicken broth or just another container, we're just going to add a little bit of water, probably about 1/4 cup. Turn the heat to about low. And we're just going to keep whisking this until it kind of comes together, loosens up on you. You might have to hit it off your whisk a little bit. Add a little more water.
So I know we're doing a Parmesan polenta here. Are there other things we could do to change the polenta? What are some other recommendations you would make for working with it?
Oh yeah, you can absolutely do whatever you would like with it. I mean, I've put bacon bits in polenta. I know last year we did the smoked Gouda and bacon cavatappi. I've done a smoked Gouda and bacon polenta. I've done some with pepper jack cheese. You can throw some roasted veggies in it, onions, peppers, things like that. So.
And you use chicken stock, I noticed, or chicken broth instead of water. So the chicken broth just brings a richer flavor.
Yeah, it's just a richer flavor, more savory. You could always just use water. I've seen people finish it with heavy cream. I'm not going to do that. We've got the butter, so that's how we're going to finish that off.
Okay. Wonderful. So, what is the difference between polenta and grits? Because you hear the two compared pretty often.
There's not really too much that's different from them. Polenta, you will see, is going to have usually more of a coarse grind. This one actually is a pretty fine grind on it. Still both from corn, just ground up grits. I really think it's just a matter of whichever region you kind of live in. If you go to Italy, you're going to get polenta. If you're down here in the South, you're going to get grits. So we're going to temp this and see where we're at.
Thank you again to our sponsors, Kyle Williams, Grubbs Grocery, Woodstock Bake Shop, First Presbyterian Church, The Blacksmith, Adelsberger Marketing, and Amy and Keith Garner. Please feel free as you're cooking your lamb to get us beautiful pictures of that meat cooking. And we'd love to see them. We'd love to experience this along with you.
So we're sitting at about 105, still a little less than what I'd like, but I think I can manage it. So from here, what we're going to do, the plate that you have ready, we're going to put the lamb right there, just let it rest. Put your pan back over here. So what we want to do is take our Dijon mustard, and we're just going to coat this whole thing, just wipe that mustard all over.
And could you use other mustards, or does it strictly need to be a Dijon mustard? Is there
I would prefer a Dijon mustard. I don't think like a regular yellow mustard would be that great.
Yeah.
Dijon, just, I don't know, it's a little sweeter, so I think it'd be good, but I don't see why you couldn't use like a kind of a coarse ground, horseradishy kind of mustard. I don't think it would really make that bit of a difference. I probably would not use regular yellow style mustard.
Could you
save that for hot dogs?
Could you use something besides mustard to do this step if you wanted to shake it up or change it a bit?
I'm sure there's something out there. I just think the mustard works out better. It's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna give it a little more of a bite, and then also what is happening is as this is kind of resting, it's gonna kind of pull that flavor in. So you also want to make sure you get this side over here as well.
And we're letting it, you mentioned resting the meat. Why is that important?
So resting, all that's going to do is it's going to help just all the moisture in it. It's going to help it absorb. So what we're going to do now is we're going to coat this, and we're actually going to throw it back in the oven, so we're going to have to let it rest a second time as well. So once you're coated just like that, little more on that. So what we want to do now is get your breadcrumb mixture. And you might be better off going to a separate plate with this.
Okay.
So this is your herb crust mixture. It's a mixture of basil, parsley, Parmesan cheese, some panko breadcrumbs, and a little salt and pepper. All we did is we just ground it up, pulsed it up. You could use a NutriBullet. I used a food processor. You could use a blender. You're really just trying to get that, just get it combined as much as possible. We throw a little splash of oil in there too, just to help it. So what we're gonna do,
Sorry, forgive me. No, but they have this recipe.
Yes.
So if they want to recreate it for themselves, that recipe was in the chef box.
Absolutely,
correct?
and they can use whatever herbs they would like. It'd be really good with thyme, rosemary, even mint leaves would be really good.
Okay.
So you could add whatever herbs you do like and the ones if you don't like. So from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it, we're gonna go back with it, and we're actually going to just roll it into this mix.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So then you should have some extra.
It looks like spring.
It's kind of what I was going with.
Yeah.
I was hoping it would bring on spring weather, and then we find out it's going to be 19 degrees on Saturday with snow.
Snow. Welcome to Tennessee in March.
Well, you can see that mustard helps it just kind of pull it all together. And we can kind of pad it in there just a little bit.
This would be a beautiful picture if you wanted to take a picture of this and tag us on Facebook or use our hashtag at hashtag Casa Chef Box 2022.
All right, so from here, all we're going to do, take our pan. It's still going to be hot too because it's coming out of the oven. So all we want to do, take the lamb, we're going to put it up just like that. We're going to go back in the oven until we get about 125, 130 degrees.
So how long, now that it's gone back in the oven, what would be your estimate for how long we'll need to let it stay there?
I'm going to say it's probably going to need about 4 to 5 minutes. Like I
Okay.
said, every oven can be different. It's always just about going by what the temperature it is whenever it comes out. And that's another benefit of letting it sit out and kind of rest for a minute. You're not taking it from a cold refrigerator where it's, should be 36, 34 degrees, trying to heat that up. And what this does is it's going to make it way more even cooked all around. So if you want that mid-rare, it's going to be mid-rare all the way through, not just very seared on the outside and mid-rare.
So would there be, do you think, like an ideal time to let it rest outside the refrigerator before moving
I would
forward?
say probably about 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
So, and I do that with steaks, pork chops. So
Yeah.
if you're grilling out, don't just take a cold steak, season it, and throw it on the grill.
Okay.
I'm sure they've been good that way, but if you let it sit out and rest and come to room
Yeah.
temp, you will get a better cooked steak.
Okay. Perfect. Nice tip there. Thank you. So is there anything at this point that we need to do with the Brussels sprouts or with the polenta, or are we just letting those rest for the time?
Brussels sprouts we're going to let rest for a minute just because I think the lamb's going to take a little more time to cook.
Okay.
But the polenta, we could probably look at it. It's probably going to need some more water
Okay.
because we really want this to be more of a smooth and kind of creamy. So we'll add about another ½ cup to it.
Now, if they had extra chicken broth, they could do that with it as well, as long as it's a liquid.
Absolutely.
Correct? Okay.
It's starting to come together. They could add more cheese to it if they wanted.
Could you use alcohol, like white wine or something, in your polenta?
I think a splash wouldn't hurt it, but I wouldn't go too crazy. Not like making a risotto where you
Yeah.
usually put white wine in there. I think a splash wouldn't hurt it, but I wouldn't go too crazy with it. All All right, so we're getting pretty smooth. So what we're gonna do now is this would be a good time to actually taste it, see if you want to add any more pepper, see if you want to add any more salt. With adding that water to it, it might have kind of taken the salt away from that chicken broth.
Do you
go with more pepper, but I think the salt's pretty good.
is there any reason we would have to worry about burning the polenta?
No, I think as long as once you put your lid on it, I always say turn the heat down.
Okay.
It's just going to kind of steam on itself rather than you don't have that direct heat coming from the bottom. So I mean, if you left your heat on and kind of left it there, you could definitely run into that. But we'll go with a little more water. All right, so lamb's probably been in for about 2 to 3 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead, throw the Brussels sprouts in as well. Brussels sprouts are cooked. The only thing we have to do to those is just heat those up.
So if you had to guess, about how much water do you feel like you've added at this point?
I've probably added another cup. This polenta is really good. It was imported in, so it's actually taking a little more water than what I've dealt with before, but it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like baking in a sense, you know. Depending on the moisture level of everything that's outside, you might need a little more water or a little less. So.
And how, if you're not wanting to spend, 20, 30 minutes roasting your Brussels sprouts from the beginning of the recipe, how do you pre-cook them? What's that process look like?
So actually what I do is, as far as roasting them goes, take a mixing bowl, cut a little bit of the stem off, cut them in half. You're going to throw in a little bit of oil. It really just depends on how many sprouts you have. So, oil, coarse salt, black pepper, some garlic powder, toss it all together, throw it on a sheet tray, 350 degrees for about 15 to 18 minutes.
Okay.
And then what I do is I take them immediately from there, put them in another container, throw them in the refrigerator to cool them down, and then you could put those in a dish and have those for the whole week if you wanted to.
So right now, literally all we're doing is, they've already been cooked all the way through, is reheating.
Yeah, that's all we're doing. They've already been cooked, just because I figured taking 15 to 20 minutes to cook them would kind of be a little long. Let's see where we're temping up at. We're hitting still at about 118, so we're going to go back.
You've mentioned a few times using coarse salt as we've been going through the recipe. Could they use regular table salt?
I wouldn't recommend regular table salt. I think it's meant for two things, and that's to go in a container on the table and for baking. I don't like using table salt much for anything. I think it takes away from the dish. I think as you're cooking, you need to take the meat and season it and cook everything as you go, compared to not putting anything on it and just adding salt to the end. You're just not going to develop the flavors that you want that way.
And then, so using coarse salt instead of table salt from the beginning, because could they use like if they were doing it all along?
So, well, with the coarse salt, what else is good with it is it does have a thicker grain on it, so kind of cuts down on over seasoning as well. So table salt is if you can add a little bit and it goes a long way. I'll put it that way. So you can't really recover from it if you over season it. With coarse salt, I feel like you can actually recover from it.
Great, thank you. So if you're interested in learning more about ways you can support Madison County CASA, you can go to our website at www.madisoncountycasa.org. or you can reach out to us. We are about to start a new training cycle for new volunteers. We're always looking for new volunteers. It's our aim and our goal to be able to offer advocacy for every abused and neglected child in Madison County. And we can only do that with more CASA volunteers. Please, if you think it might be something you're even mildly interested in, just give us a call, and we'll be glad to talk to you about how we serve the community here and the children here in our community.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of prepare a station to go ahead and get ready to plate, and then we'll also have to cut the lamb. So what I like to do just for your cutting board, so it's not going to slide all over the place, get you a few paper towels, get them wet, squeeze out all the water, and then you're going to open it back up. Because you can kind of see, like, it kind of has it'll slide all over on you, but put a little paper towel down and put that on top of it, and doesn't really want to move as much. All right, so we're going to leave the lamb in, but we're going to go ahead and take these Brussels sprouts out. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a mixing bowl. We're going to dump these into this bowl. And with your Brussels sprouts, you can always cook them a little less if you like. I actually kind of like that char on some of the loose leaves, so that's why I cooked them this way. So then we're going to take our balsamic reduction. You don't need a ton.
So Chef Tanner, someone's wanting to know, could you tell us about your silicone mat?
So the silicone mat is one that my wife actually got for me for I don't know if it was a birthday gift or if it was a Christmas gift, honestly. I kind of forgot, but it's just it's a silicone mat that it's got Darth Vader on there, so it's got him on there. But no, I like it for one because it makes cleaning up so much easier. It's great for baking anything, cookies. I mean, they will literally slide right off. Whereas if you normally take a sheet tray and don't have anything on it, how many times this stuff's just stuck to it? So. Right.
And I noticed you mentioned you're adding balsamic glaze. Can you tell us what the difference is between balsamic glaze and balsamic vinegar?
Yeah. So your balsamic vinegar is strictly what it is. It's just balsamic vinegar. Balsamic glaze is usually mixed with sugar, and it's just heated up on a low temp to just reduce down, and it just causes it to thicken up, and that's how you get your glaze.
So they could theoretically make their own glaze if they ever decided they wanted to do that.
If you, I'd probably start with 2 cups of vinegar, and it's a decent amount of sugar. It'd probably be 1 cup of sugar. You cook it on low, and you just let the sugar melt, and then you just let that dissolve and come down.
Great, thank you. Can you buy balsamic glaze at the store?
I believe you can. I think I've seen it where you can buy pre-made bottles of it and everything like that. Which is definitely the route I would go for with cooking at the house.
Yeah.
At the restaurant that I used to work at, we definitely made it from scratch, but not everybody has that kind of time. All right. So from here, lamb's sitting at about 125, 128. So what we're going to do is we're going to let it sit there and just rest, probably for about 2 minutes. You could let this rest all the way up for about 5-10 minutes. All it's doing is it's going to carry over and cook. So it's still cooking, and you don't want to cut into it right now because all your juices and everything will just run out of it. So.
Okay. So it'll be more tender, more juicy.
Absolutely.
More if you let that rest. Great.
Absolutely. And like I said, we got that one to 125, 128. If you wanted it, say medium, you want to leave it in the oven until about 130, 135, let it carry over.
Okay.
If you want it medium well, 140, 145, let it carry over. And then I don't ever cook meat past medium, so.
Is there a too high?
Is there a temp that's too high?
Yes.
Like too well done?
Yeah, it's too well done.
Absolutely. Anything past medium is too well done.
Which you just said was 145?
Yeah, you're looking at about 135, 140 for medium.
Okay.
130, 135, somewhere in there, it'll carry over to where you need. All right, so.
So if you're taking your lamb out and you're about to start plating, please make sure to take a picture of your delicious food and tag us on Facebook or use our hashtag Casa CHEFBOX 2022.
All right, so to plate this, we've got our polenta. I'm just going to put a little bit in the center.
Do you have any tips on plating in general?
Just have fun. That's the only thing I can tell you. You can be as clean or as dirty, but in the end, as long as it's pretty, that's all that matters. So now we're going to go with these balsamic glazed Brussels sprouts. We'll do some, we'll kind of plate it a little differently. All right, and this is your fun part. So you got 8 bones. You might actually have a small one that's extra. Just kind of look into where you think halfway is.
Okay.
So you want to hug one side. Slice down. You're that's kind of where I'm looking at as far as that rare, mid-rare kind of look on it. So from there, we'll take kind of right in the half. We'll put those two like that. And you can actually plate this a few different ways.
So how many would you typically do per serving?
I think a half a rack of lamb is pretty solid for a serving. And then what I like to do, just for a little extra sauce if you want it, and take your balsamic, kind of go up and down that lamb. Something like that. And then on the polenta, I like throwing a little bit of that extra pepper on there.
Beautiful.
You could always, you see a lot of traditional, somebody will throw a sprig of rosemary in there, so you could just throw some chopped parsley on it, but I really like this dish. I like the green that comes from that herb crust is just very bright. You can smell those herbs once it comes out of the oven too.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. We are thrilled you were with us tonight. I can't thank our sponsors enough. Thank you, Kyle Williams, Grubbs Grocery, Woodstock Bake Shop, First Presbyterian Church, The Blacksmith, Alice Burger Marketing, and Amy and Keith Garner. Without any of you, this night would not have been possible. Thank you for supporting CASA. Thank you, Chef Tanner, for your time, for this delicious food.
Absolutely.
And bon appetit. We hope to see you next year for Casa CHEFBOX.